up? It's Breyonna. So Colourpop launched this really cool vault for the holidays, and this is called the If You Like It, and it's all 5-pan palettes. And I thought we would try one out of it. I'll be honest, the one I wanted to use, I accidentally dropped right before this video. Like, I am so upset. It's called Social Butterfly, and it's like blues and golds, and I accidentally dropped it, and it made the biggest mess. So I'm gonna do some surgical repair on it, and then we'll try that one out as well. But in the meantime, I thought we would try out this one, because this one also really caught my eye. It is called Over The Cocoon, and it's a very interesting palette. It's like mauve and burgundy, and it has this really cool pop of gray in here. To me, this palette though just screams holiday vibes, you know, going from fall into winter. Because again, it's not like a red eyeshadow palette, but it's not like orange either. Like, it just has this really cool transition because it's kind of cool tone, it's kind of not. I don't know, I just thought it looked really fun. And first things first, I'm gonna prime my eyes using my ABH eye primer. I use this with all my Colourpop palettes, if you're ever curious which primer I use. And again, I'm just gonna put a little bit on the back of my hand because I do not want to waste this liquid magic. And I'm just going to apply it with this big old shader brush. This is from the Morphe Pride collection. And I personally like to stipple my eye primer on because I feel like I get a little bit more coverage, and unfortunately I have like a lot of like discoloration and like my veins peek through. So I'll take as much coverage as I can get. So I just let this eye primer kind of like set in place for a hot minute, and then first shade I want to go in with on the palette is this kind of like grayish taupey shade, and it almost has like a little hint of purple to it too. It's a very interesting neutral kind of color, and this one is called Entrance. Yeah, like from a distance it looks kind of like a gray, but the more that you really like close in on it, you can kind of see like that purple. I don't know, I just think that's kind of cool. But I'm going to be taking this on this little pinch blending. Oh damn, that is so much darker on my brush. Like, I don't know if you guys can see what I'm talking about, but like on the brush it looks very brown, but in the pan it looks very gray. We'll see how it applies, but I'm just taking it on this Anastasia A10. It's just like a pinch blending brush. And I'm first going to apply that in my crease. That looks so much different than it does in the pan. Like, what? And also, can we just take a moment to appreciate how pigmented that was right away? Like, this is literally only one dip. I am gonna do kind of like a rounded shape today. I kind of want to do like a halo style with this palette. I think that'd be so pretty, especially with the darker shimmer in here. But wow, like, but I mean, do you see what I'm talking about? Like in the pan, it almost looks more gray than when it is applied, so it's a little deceiving. I personally don't really care that much, but I'm more worried about the formula, but I was not expecting it to be like that. I am going in with a little bit more though, just to build it a little bit more in this inner part. Dang, like, you don't even have to do 2 layers with this shade if you don't want to. I'm actually really curious to see how this look is gonna turn out, because going into this, I thought this was gonna be more of like a softer kind of palette with like a pop of like smokiness. But the next shade I want to go in with is this kind of like matte, purpley mauve kind of color, and this one's called Beeman. I'm just gonna be taking this on this Anastasia A25. Ooh, that's applying rosy. Like pinky rosy. Like in the pan, it kind of has like more of like a purpley kind of look to it, but when applied, I don't really see that like purple. And then I'm just gonna do a second layer. Again, like this is one of those shades that is like super pigmented, to the point I don't think you have to build it up. Honestly, like the formula of both of these mattes that we've used so far kind of remind me of the Wild Child palette, if you've ever used that one. Like just that, like that super pigmented formula. But that is definitely like my favorite formula that Colourpop does, like the super pigmented one. Just because it is just so rich and intense and smoky, and also very easy to work with at the same time. Now, I will warn you, this palette does have a lot of kickback in the pan with the mattes. You can kind of see it just looks a little bit well loved right away, which doesn't bother me, but again, I know not everybody likes kickback in the pan. But the next shade we're going to be going in with is part 2, and this is the deepest shade in the palette, and it's kind of like a brick red, but not like that super dark brick red, if you know what I mean, like a lighter brick. And I'm just going to be taking it on this teeny tiny little blending brush from Morphe. This is an M507. And again, you see what I mean? Like it just has a little bit of kickback to the pan. It's not like the shadows are crumbling, but they are a little bit messy. I guess let's see what happens. Ooh. Now I will say out of all 3 of the mattes, this one is the least pigmented, but also I like that this one isn't as pigmented, because it is a little bit richer of a shade. I'm just taking a second layer adding like this red hue to the look without being like bam in your face red. But why I like that it's a little bit on the buildable side is because it'll prevent getting harsh lines, and if you're a beginner and you're not used to using really dark shades, it's not gonna just like overpower everything that you put near it. And let's do a third layer though. Ooh, this shade is super gorge. Again, it's like a red, but it has like this earthy kind of vibe to it. And what I'm going to do is just go back in with that brush that we applied Beeman with, no additional product, and just kiss the edge. So I just did the halo little moment off camera. You can also just use like a little bit of eye primer on your finger, just tap it in the center too. I just want something a little bit more dramatic. But now I'm just gonna go in with a little bit more of part 2 on this little shader brush from Morphe. And I'm just going to feather out the edges of the cut crease. And if you are cutting your crease with added eye primer or, you know, concealer, you do want to wait until it completely dries, until you apply shadow on top. Because otherwise it can oxidize your shadow and make it look really clumpy and weird, and we're not going for that. So now I'm just going to go in with the darkest shimmer in the palette, and this one's called New Phase, and it's kind of like a burgundy kind of color. And I am going to be taking it completely dry. And I'm just going to try to get it on the edges, leaving a little bit of a gap in the center for the lightest shimmer. It's definitely like a wet metallic kind of shimmer. Doesn't really have like that glittery kind of look to it. I am going right over that red that we just applied. And again, I'm going to be doing the exact same thing to the outer edge. You can kind of see like I'm leaving just that little blank in the middle. It's kind of a different shimmer too, because it's kind of like a burgundy, but it almost has just like this hint of like a rosy brown to it. Kind of gives me like Valentine's Day vibes in a way. But now I'm just going to go in with the lightest shimmer in the palette called Cozy. And I'm just going to be taking it on a different flat shader brush, and we're going to be applying a dry not damp. This one's kind of like a rose gold looking kind of shade. Let's pop it right in the center. Ooh, I'm just going to do a little bit more right away. Oh yeah, this is definitely like a true rose gold, but it has just a little bit more rose than gold to it. Just a little bit more on the pinky side. I'm just tapping it into the burgundy, and wow, that's really pretty looking. I wish that this palette didn't have so much fallout to it, but we're getting a bomb look. And I will say, like, this Cozy shade isn't as sparkly as New Phase. It's definitely more of like that wearable wet sheen kind of vibe. So I just did my face off camera, but I'm having one of those days where I can't handle like a top bun. Like, I don't know, sometimes I get like headaches from them, and it just like really like makes me like uncomfortable. I don't know if you ever get like that too. But let's start working on the lower lash line, and I'm just gonna take that part 2 shade on that little shader brush, because I mean, why dirty more brushes than you have to? Because I just hate washing brushes. Anytime I can use a brush twice, I'm gonna do it. But ooh, it's actually really pigmented just by itself. You know, when applied on the other shades, it did look a little bit more buildable. But if you're somebody that does the dark to light method and you pack in between, I think you're gonna find this shade extremely pigmented. So I just mixed Beeman and Entranced, the other 2 mattes in this palette, on this little blending brush from Profusion. It's an ES6. And I'm just gonna smoke this down. So for the inner corner highlight, I mean, you could go in with that Cozy shade that we used in the center of the lid, but honestly, I want something a little bit brighter just because I'm so fair, and I don't like a darker inner corner. That's just not my vibe. I like something like pound your face and really bright. So instead, I'm just gonna go in with the highlighter that I used today, and this is from the Wet n Wild Little Twin Stars collection. This is the Oh My Star Complexion Trio. And I'm just going to go in with this highlighter right here in the center. Again, you could use anything, like a light gold would be really cool. I'm going to use an icy color though. I'm going to icy pink. Yeah, that was the play. Man, that is really pretty. Got a little eye boogie, but I'm just going to do a second layer as well. Just make sure it is popping. I'm actually surprised I haven't seen more hype about these little 5 pans because honestly, like, the formula of this palette is so nice. Again, I haven't tried the other ones, but this one so far is just bomb. Like, if you like the Wild Child matte formula, like that super pigmented, extra rich kind, this palette has the exact same formula and it's just so easy to work with. Like, if you're a beginner, you are not going to struggle with this one at all. Now, comparing the Wild Child palette shimmers to this palette, the Wild Child ones are more like glittery and sparkly, whereas these ones are more of like a wet sheen kind of vibe. But yeah, so in the comments down below, let me know what you think about this look, and also let me know again which palette I should use out of the vaults, or if we should just pass and try something new. I would love to hear what you think. But before you go though, if you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below and also give this video a like. And if you like, check me out over on Instagram or TikTok, it's at Breyonna as well. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye!